Well, coming up, and we want you to get involved in this battle against diabetes, is a Central Mass Step Out Walk. Adam Webster is here with us. Adam, people certainly recognize the voice, might not always get to see the man behind the microphone at Nash Icon on weekday mornings, but thanks so much for coming here. You wear many hats.
I do, yes, thank you. So yeah, the American Diabetes Association is very important to me and my family. I come from a family with type 2 diabetes. We now know a lot of people affected by type 1 diabetes, and although it's both called diabetes, they're very different diseases.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Autoimmune.
Right.
So type 1, I know children, 3 months old, 2 years old, 14 years old, who are diagnosed with type 1, meaning their pancreas just shuts down, no longer producing insulin. So without insulin, they could not survive. So that's type 1 diabetes, no fault of their own, let's call it. It's just their body, the pancreas shuts down. Type 2 can often be managed or controlled as best as possible through diet and exercise before medication is needed, and then in some extreme cases, insulin is needed in type 2. But type 2 you can really get ahead of, and that's a lot of the education that I like to tell people about. As you know, Hank knows that I lost 90 pounds over the past 2 years. I knew too many people affected by type 2 diabetes and who were getting diagnosed on a regular basis, family, friends, and people that I've met through working with the American Diabetes Association. And Hank, I said, let's not wait until the diagnosis comes. Let's get ahead of this. So I took myself out of that pre-diabetes
That's something that we really can do. And they talk about the fact now that that has reached epidemic levels because Americans, I know everybody's joining health clubs and everybody's walking around with their bottles of water, but we're just getting heavier and heavier and heavier, and that's what you're talking about. That leads to type 2 diabetes.
It really does. It definitely does. Sedentary lifestyle, making poor choices, not knowing how to read labels. When someone says, no sugar added, that's not sugar-free. And not to get too technical, but there is a lot of information available on the website, diabetes.org.
Diabetes.org. But I was just going to say, Adam, one of the things that I find fascinating is it does seem that the more, and I'm not really kidding about the health clubs and water, and everybody seems to be trying to do these things. And I see people looking at those labels, but for some reason we must not quite be reading it right or looking at it right, or we look at the number of calories and we say, yeah, but it tastes so good, I'm going to do it anyway.
There's that. Discipline is very difficult.
But your part about we're reading it wrong, or there's some misinformation, or we don't understand, because they're very clever, I'm sure, about what they put on the label to make me think that somehow if I'm having diet this or sugar-free that, I must be getting thinner just by having this
Diabetes
stuff.
educators and nutritionists really spend a lot of time now when you meet up with them one-on-one through your doctor, your hospital, your endocrinologist, on how to read labels, what the misconceptions are, and what, as you said, the advertising lingo is. So there's a lot of information about that on the website diabetes.org, and when you're there, if you know someone who is one of the 29 million Americans with diabetes, or one of the 86 million Americans with pre-diabetes, which are staggering numbers, there's a program called Living with Type 2. It's a free program that you could register for, either the print edition or the electronic edition online at diabetes.org.
Tell me about this 86 million that are pre-diabetes. What does that mean? Does that
elevated blood sugar and a higher risk for type 2 diabetes.
And can that be something as simple as lay off the soft drinks, get out there and exercise? So for 86 million people, then there really is something that today you could go out and start doing about that.
Absolutely, and this is 86 million people who are labeled with with pre-diabetes, not to mention the millions and millions who don't know, who maybe don't go to a doctor or who have not yet been diagnosed. So it's definitely an epidemic, and I'm very proud to be managing now my third Step Out Walk to Stop Diabetes. It's the signature fundraising event for the American Diabetes Association throughout the country, and we're lucky enough to have one right here in Central Mass in Worcester, and it's taking place on Saturday, September 24th at the UMass Medical School. that morning, and it's really a great event because not only is it a fundraising event for folks affected with type 1 and type 2 diabetes to raise funds, get out and walk and support the mission of the American Diabetes Association, but we also put together an expo, and we have a lot of different pharma companies and some diabetes educators and doctors, and really educating people about type 1, about type 2, about some of the tools and management tools available for them.
Yeah, and it really is a full day then. So you can start to register around 8 o'clock. The walk steps off at 10, but there's a lot going on for the family to come down and enjoy.
The Red Sox are coming down this year with that mobile fan fest that they're bringing out. We've got the Railers and their new mascot, which we just met. We've got Jake from the Bravehearts. We've got the New England Revolution. That's the sports. And then we have some great stuff for families with clowns and magicians and balloon animals and all of that. But the most important part is the mission, and that is the resources for folks available for those with diabetes and to learn about type 1, type 2, and how they can help.
So education really then is the key. And I mean, do you feel that, I mean, that's a big part of it? Are we sort of hiding our heads in the sand? We're vaguely aware. We kind of know we ought to lose some weight, or we kind of know we should exercise, but we don't really believe that that'll prevent. I mean, what I'm hearing from you today is that it is so preventable, or there is so much that we could do.
Type 2.
For type 2,
it's very important.
Yes,
type 1,
2.
you know, if I'm a type 1 listener and viewer, and I'm thinking, well, there's nothing I could do. I did nothing wrong. Type 1 diabetes is its own thing. It used to be juvenile. Talking about type 2 diabetes, or what used to be called adult onset, yes. A lot of it is education, making changes in your lives, you know, making the right decisions. The first thing, you know, join a gym. Now, I joined a gym about a year before I went to the gym. Joining a gym and going to the gym, two very different things, right?
Absolutely.
Making those correct decisions at the grocery store, and then, you know, people say, oh, you did a great job losing that 90 pounds. Thank you. It was a lot of hard work.
I bet.
But now the second part of this, and the most important part, is keeping that weight off and not going back to the lifestyle I led, having broken up with certain foods. And sorry, China Buffet, you haven't seen me in a while. I can't come back. You know, you can't go. You know.
And how much really is that mindset? Because you're right. A lot of people are very successful at losing the weight, and then whatever reason, the certain triggers, we go back to these bad habits, and it seems to come right back on. So it really is that you have to, you have to do that lifestyle change. Yeah, no, and so congratulations to you. And by the way, it would, you know, this walk then can actually start that for somebody. That day can be the first day.
Absolutely, and that's why it's a walk. It's a get up and do something. There's a 3-mile walk and a 1-mile walk, starting at UMass Medical School in Worcester and ending back there. Again, it's the morning of Saturday, September 24th, and all of the information is online at diabetes.org/StepOutCentralMA.
Yeah, so we want people obviously to sign up now and make that commitment now to be out there and join you on the 24th. Let's talk a little bit more about this type 1 diabetes then, since we did talk about the ways in which you could prevent early onset for adults. But you are born with it. I mean, have there been great advances though in the technology to be able to fight type 1?
It's amazing the research right in our own backyard. UMass, the UMass Diabetes Center of Excellence, doing tremendous research. There's this arms race, let's call it, to create what's called the bionic pancreas, and there's a group out of Boston University. Dr. Damiano is working to get his son with type 1 this bionic pancreas before his son goes off to college next year, and they're very, very close. But there's a lot of research. There's a lot of whys. You know, they're not able to find that million-dollar question as to what causes it and why. But they're working on it, and that's where the money that we raise for the Step Out Walk goes to: research, resources, and advocacy for all people with type 1 and type 2 diabetes.
But in this case, that money, you really could say, is staying local. I mean, because it sounds as if that cure could very well come from right here in Massachusetts.
Being in Massachusetts, we really have a lot going on in our backyard. In the Boston hospitals, at the UMass Diabetes Center of Excellence, there is so much research and so much promise going on, as opposed to people in the, quote, diabetes belt in the middle of the country. A lot of their money, like you say, is coming here to the Northeast.
Boy, that's fantastic. And what do you think it really was that sort of flipped the switch for you? And you said, you said that it runs in the family, but I mean, that really made you decide that
Yeah.
I've got to make that lifestyle
Type
change?
2 diabetes runs in my family. Watching people in my family become insulin dependent. But what really flipped the switch for me, as I mentioned, I started, in addition to morning radio, I do the Step Out Walk to Stop Diabetes. When I took on this event and I started meeting participants and families with type 1 and type 2, most of them being type 2, and the diagnosis and hearing the stories and seeing the amputated legs and hearing the stories about the neuropathy and the kidney failure and the heart disease and the blindness and all of the things that type 2 can lead to if not being taken care of, let's get in front of this instead of waiting for the diagnosis. So seeing too many stories and not wanting to go down that road and not wanting to wait until diagnosis, I said, let's get in front of this. Let's take the weight off now. And so far, so good.
I got to believe, and we've got just about 30 seconds left, but I've got to believe then that people who saw you 3 years ago and when you first took over the walk and are going to see you coming up on September 24th, there's the inspiration, right? I mean, there's the story. You are then a success story when it comes to what this walk can do.
I don't want to make it about me. It's not about me.
No, I
it's
understand,
about them.
but it really is.
You know, look, you walk the walk, you talk the talk.
Yeah.
Here's the information. It's there. Please take it, diabetes.org. Learn everything you can and get ahead of this thing.
Fantastic. Hey, we'll see you there on the 24th.
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, and thank you as always for joining us right here on the Hank Stolz Experience.
Break my stride.